They have everything you need, from screen printing, embroidery, and digital printing services, high school letterman jackets, and all high school and club uniforms and individual and team apparel with the most reliable brands like Speedline, Rawlins, and Wilson. And don't forget to check out the latest F.
Dreamstyle Remodeling has been wowing homeowners in New Mexico since 1989. Selected as Best Custom Home Remodeler for 3 consecutive years by readers of the Albuquerque Journal, we're also your exclusive provider for top home improvement brands like Renewal by Anderson, Four Seasons, Blaze King, and many others. Founded and headquartered in Albuquerque, Dreamstyle Remodeling is family-owned and now employs more than 500 people across the southwestern U.S. In fact, we've helped more than 60,000 homeowners improve their home in New Mexico, Arizona, California, Idaho, and West Texas. We're committed to providing a superior customer experience. We've earned 4.6 stars with hundreds of online reviews and have an A+ with the BBB. Dreamstyle Remodeling is a proud supporter of UNM Athletics. Visit our beautiful 10,000 square foot showroom at 1460 Renaissance Boulevard across from Sam's Club or DreamstyleRemodeling.com to make your home remodeling dreams come true.
The Sports Desk is proudly presented by Car Crafters. It's like it never happened.
Car Crafters, proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Are you sure we're supposed to be doing this?
Don't worry, I've watched him do it 1,000 times. Come on, what's the worst that can happen?
No! Bad dog!
Hi, welcome to Car Crafters. What happened?
Don't worry, we'll make it like it never happened.
Car Crafters, it's like it never happened.
Get into the game with Garden Swartz Team Sales. They have everything you need, from screen printing, embroidery, and digital printing services, high school letterman jackets, and all high school and club uniforms and individual and team apparel with the most reliable brands like Speedline, Rawlins, and Wilson. And don't forget to check out the latest F7 Shut helmet. It's all at Garden Swartz Team Sales. Give them a call, 505-884-1234. Garden Swartz Team Sales.
Morning, welcome to Sports Desk Live on Comcast Channel 26, also streamed on Facebook. I'm your host, Ed Nunez. With us is the beat writer for the New Mexico Lobos football team, Steve Bergen. And Steve, you know, we've been wanting to get you on the show for a long time. I really appreciate you coming down.
Hey, I appreciate it too.
Yeah, Steve, you know, I've talked to you, a lot about Lobo football. My son, you wouldn't believe it, my son is 27 years old. He was one of the 1,500 people out there on Saturday. And I got to give it to my son. I told my son, you know, he's like, I got to be there for Coach Davies' last game. And I'm like, son, man, you know, you're going to be, you know, there's not, you know, and I got to give it to him. That's loyalty to the program.
Oh, yeah, it's a diehard.
No, it is. And I got to tell you this, I've told you this, that I've been a fan since 1970. I remember listening to Mike Roberts with Rocky Long, Sam Scarber. I've been a fan since 70. So when I talk to you about Lobo football, I'm talking to you from someone that's been there, has seen the program go up and down, mostly down. Let's be honest, right? I got to be honest. I see the evolution when Rocky Long came, Dennis Franchione, Joe Morrison, Jolie Dunn, Bill Mott, Rudy Feldman. Seen it all. Seen a lot. I didn't see Marv Levy. I wasn't born then. I didn't see Don Perkins. I didn't see certain Lobo players, but I've seen a lot. I've seen a whole bunch. And I guess for me, Coach Davey, everything that could have gone wrong in this season went wrong. I read every article you wrote, every single one of them, because I'm a fan. I'm a fan, man. I couldn't go to all the games. I've been covering Western New Mexico, and I've missed some of them. But I'm always checking the score. Steve, I got to say this. You said this in one of your articles. It's one of those seasons that it just started out with some promise. Coach Davey having the medical episode. They beat Sam Houston. But gosh, it just seems everything went south after that.
You're so right by saying that everything that could go wrong went wrong, and it was just a nightmarish season that just couldn't believe what happened, one thing after the next, and it just got worse and worse. And there was points during the season where it was believable that Davey wasn't coming back, and it was just inevitable that he was going to be let go at some time. And sure enough, a week before the season ended, they went ahead and decided to go their separate ways.
I think this too. I think when they hired Bob Davie, I remember when they hired him, and again, that was after one of the worst eras of Lobo football with Mike Loxley, 3-33. George Barlow came in. I remember going to a game when George Barlow was the interim coach. They played Air Force, and I remember everything that could have gone wrong in that game: special teams fumbles, pick sixes. And I thought to myself, gosh, man, I've never seen a worse team in my life, as far as Lobo football, when George Barlow, just the interim coach for maybe 2 games. And then when they hired Bob Davie, there's some optimism. There is. He coached at Texas A&M. He coached at Notre Dame. Right? And a lot of people, said Mike Leach. They said other names at that time. But when they got him, he won 4 games that first year. And I remember 2012, he actually won games that I didn't think they could win, right? Won games. There, again, he did win 2 bowl games here. He won. He won 1, got him to 2 bowl games, and I think that's being overlooked because as the tenure of Bob Davie went on, people were mad about certain things off the field. The kneeling. I saw in Sports Speak Up someone wrote that the other day that the kneeling eliminated the fan base. It wasn't that big to begin with. When I read that, I'm like, okay, no. And that's people's rights to do that anyway. I'm sorry, you may not agree with it, but that's their right to do that. And and maybe some people were turned off by it, but
it did cause a stir.
It did. Okay, Stephen. And to be fair, you're there every day interviewing the players. Again, this season again. What do you think? Injuries. What do you think contributed it to all of where we are now?
So much. So much. I think one thing you could say about Bob Davie is he can coach. He really can, but you can make a really strong argument that he just cannot connect with the players. At 65 years old, and you kind of run your end. I think there's a point to be made by that. I talked to Teton Saltis, the offensive lineman, very very outspoken individual, and he made a point that the JUCO transfers didn't so much cause a problem; it made it challenging to mesh. It wasn't. Team chemistry is very important, as you know, in all sports, and especially football. When you're going to be physical each game, and you get a group of junior college players, as Teton put it, that just kind of come in and go out, and they don't have as much invested as the 4-year players that are being developed, and making a point that this is their home at UNM. So, I think some JUCO players are needed, obviously, at a program like UNM, but I think so many made it challenging, as Teton put it, to mesh.
And I think, again, Coach Davie's trying to, the philosophy of let's win now, right? There's back-to-back 3-9 seasons, so he's thinking maybe some of these junior college transfers can make a difference in the win-loss total. I know what he's thinking, right? We've seen it. I don't know that they've ever had success here in doing that, when the most successful programs that have happened here have been under Rocky Long. Dennis Franchione had some good success for a couple of years. Right. But that's a good point. I didn't even think about that. And Teton Saltis, a very outspoken guy, but this kid is a very curious, deep-seated intellectual who helps other people with other things besides football.
He really does.
So when I read what he says, I'm paying attention because this young man is curious about a lot of things besides just football. Don't ever label him as just a football player. He's much deeper than that.
Correct.
So when he says that, I think that's a good point because, again, people that are vested in a 4-year program and Coach Davie developing that would probably have more of a tie-in than the junior college players who are coming here after a 2-year stint at a JC and aren't as invested in the program.
Yep, and Teton also said they're talented players. It's just hard to mesh them, hard to make that team chemistry, and they are talented players, and some of them do work, some of them, but overall it's kind of like a gamble, what are you going to get when you bring in these players, and some of them pan out, some of them don't.
And he had so many holes to fill, and it's funny because we're going to go into offense, defense. There's the quarterback situation.
Yeah, the quarterback was huge.
I still can't believe that. Hughes, the junior college transfer, what's his first name? Brant Hughes played very well first game.
Right.
I don't know if he doesn't get hurt. There's a win-loss, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Does the win-loss record look any different? Then you had Tuioti, Tavaka Tuioti, who one game says, I'm behind Sherion Jones. I'm with him. And I read that in your article. as someone that's coached and played, and when I call on your number, you know, I expect you to go out there. I was kind of like,
That was
wait a
pretty
minute.
bizarre, yeah.
You know, and then somebody mentioned to me that, you know, he's not as Americanized as far as the competitiveness of the game. But still, if you're called on and your team needs you, I hated sitting out. When I sat out, man, I wanted to get back in the game. So I hated this, even when we were up by a lot and they sat me, you know, I was a starter, but when I didn't get back in the game, I'm looking at the coach like, I hate sitting here. So
Right.
I just think all the things that happened was a perfect storm for the kind of season that the Lobos ended up having.
For sure. That was a head scratcher for sure that Tavaka didn't, I mean, so to speak, didn't want to go in. It's just like, you know, a lot of players are asking the coach to go in. You know, it was a situation that was just kind of unbelievable that it happened. But, you know, you're right with the quarterback situation, that the whole season, that was a key part of what was the Lobos' demise as well. They couldn't find the right quarterback. And, you know, you got to give some credit to the Lobos too. They were in a lot of those games. You know, a lot of those games were winnable for them, but unfortunately they didn't make the right plays. You know, they had too many turnovers, and, you know, go back to the quarterback play too. But, you know, there's something to say about Brant Hughes. I talked to him last week, and he's coming back. He's coming back next season.
Good.
And he's excited. You know, he's getting his full range of motion because it's his right throwing shoulder. And there's something to be said that he won the job out of preseason, and the coaches did like him. He got the ball out quick. He was the right fit for that offense as far as they wanted to throw more this season, and it just didn't work out that first game where he got injured his shoulder, and it was an injury that he's had in the past. So the surgery that they had, it was more cleaning up of that shoulder, and basically he was done. And then, you know, we all know the story about Sharon Jones, and got suspended, and just kind of put a dark cloud over the program back then. And then Tavaka just had inconsistency throughout. And the last game we saw Trey Hall, I mean, he kind of surprised a lot of people actually with his athleticism. And I saw the jump that he made as far as improvement goes from his freshman year to this year, which is he redshirted that first year. So now he's going to be a redshirt sophomore. And if he continues to develop, you know, he's an example of one of these four-year players that came into the program. And he too said he's not going anywhere. He wants to stay at UNM. He loves Albuquerque, and, you know, it's kind of close to where he's from in Texas. And he's just a really athletic player, athletic quarterback. As far as potential goes, he has it for sure. But it's going to be a situation where it's going to be another quarterback battle for that spot again. For those
So
three
many
guys.
things to think about, though, Steve, before that even happens, right? Because we don't know who's coming in as coach. We have no idea right now, and, you know,
It's exciting.
You know what? So, as a fan, heck yeah, it's exciting. I remember, you know, when Coach Neal left the Lobo basketball program, and then we brought in Coach Weir, and at first, you know, Coach Weir's an Aggie. I'm like, man, you know, back in the day, the rivalries, gosh, I you know, all respect to my friends in Crimson and White. I'm not the biggest, you know, it's a rivalry. I'm a Lobo guy. I graduated from UNM. So it took me a little while to get used to Coach Weir.
That must have been tough, huh?
Oh, gosh. But you know what? When I met Coach Weir, we had him on the sports desk about a year and a half ago. And, you know, I love the guy. He's a great, great guy, right?
Yeah,
He
very
really
likable
is.
guy, yeah.
You know, whether this team, you know, I'll talk to Jeff Grammer about that, and, you know, that team has some individual talent, a lot of individualism that I'm seeing right now, but, you know, hopefully as the season goes on, they'll mesh. It's hard to mesh JC guys together and transfers. That's something we're seeing.
It's a big job for him.
No, it really is. So, but I think it is an exciting time, because right away,
sure.
you know, in the first name that everyone's saying, and, you know, I'll say this, you know, I talked to a couple of people about it the other day, since is Danny Gonzalez. You know, we'll talk about that later, because a lot of people, his name is on a lot of people's, you know, lips, and his name's being mentioned. Young guy, you know, former player under Rocky Long. He's from Valley High School.
Sounds like an ideal fit.
There's so many things, right? Now I said this too, that UNM athletic director Eddie Nunez, he probably has 5 guys on a list. I would think, right? He has
At
to
least,
have.
yeah.
He's from the SEC, so, you know, he has to have 5 guys, right, that he's looking at, or he's right away. That's his job. That's part of his job. But the other part is too, in the community, people are going to, like, you know, the boosters, right? They're going to, like, hey, well, did Coach Davey connect with the boosters? I don't know that he did. What I'm hearing around the edge is that he didn't. So, you know, they're going to want that, right? And I guess we'll get into this in the next segment. You know, how do we get people back there? What's the recruitment base like? I mean, there's been so many things talked about as far as, oh, let's get rid of football. Now, you know, there's no way that's going to happen. There's no way They're going to give Eddie a chance to make it. Here's your chance.
Right.
You have to, right? Eddie, here's your chance to see what you can do. Put your stamp. So these people saying this, and I get it about the soccer, UNM soccer. Maybe it comes back. Maybe it should come back. Maybe it should have never gone away. Right?
Right.
It's a great program. They're not going to rent out UNM Stadium to have a United play. They're not going to do that. So, yeah, I get these people that want that to happen. I get that it might make some sense. That's not going to happen, at least for the next 4 years.
For sure.
Yes, that's not going to happen. And I can understand why people, United, I'll tell you, United.
Really taking off. That's
United.
impressive.
We'll take a break and be back with Steve Vergan for more questions and answers on the Sports Desk after these messages.
Dorian over. Did he get in?
They got in.
Touchdown, Dorian Lewis.
Seconds to play. Benavides still looking up the middle. It's intercepted. It's picked off by Freddie Anaya, and Roswell's season will end perfect.
Second quarter, 2nd and 4 for Socorro at the whole 44-yard line. McDaniel trying, good block by Hicks. First down and more, 30, 25, 20. McDaniel might be gone. Touchdown.
Wow.
Touchdown for Michael McDaniel.
It's 40 seconds this year. It's not like 25 like it used to be.
He laterals it back. What a play by Hightower. Pitch.
Looked like somebody moved a little bit early. Hicks, the play fake double move. He's got his receiver wide open. Caught. One man to beat. Touchdown. Touchdown to number 17, Nathaniel.
Third and 6. Big defensive play coming up here. Little trickery to Reese. See you later. Touchdown. They went for the deep ball to Reese.
To the right, single receiver split to the left. Play fake, head up the middle, got some room. 50, 45, 40, has one man to beat. 30, 25, 10, 5, touchdown. Touchdown, Hope.
Wow.
On a
Option again, he'll keep it. Now he'll pitch it. Comes out to the 30, 25, 20, up the sideline. Still inbounds into the end zone. Let's see.
Touchdown.
Touchdown, Portell.
The outside of running an out route. Davison in the play action, looking. He's going to go back to Lewis, and Lewis makes a cut, and Lewis still on his feet. Dorian Lewis is in for a touchdown. So Davison back to toss, and he's got all day. It's one miss, and he's rolling. He's got a guy. Can he get it there? Davison to Luke Weissong.
We told you he
touchdown.
could spin that football, and that was a throw right there. I know he's got the win in his back, but
what is glamour? Frailty. What is desire? Diamonds. They say a life lived without passion is hardly worth living.
Ma'am? 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 Dang, this one made me feel all special.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walk up to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Is this my car?
State Farm knows that for every one of those moments,
This is ridiculous!
there's one of these.
Is this my car? What? This is ridiculous.
This can't be happening!
This can't be happening.
Oh, it's happening, sweetheart.
Oh, it's happening, sweetheart. Shut up.
Shut up!
That's why State Farm is there, with car insurance for when things go wrong, but also here with car loans to help life go right. State Farm.
Talk to State Farm agent Marty Size or Michelle Rudolph in Albuquerque today.
Don't sacrifice quality of flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Welcome back to the Sports Desk Live on Comcast Channel 26, also streamed on Facebook. I'm your host, Ed Nunez, along with our producer, Alden Iowani, and Albuquerque Journal beat writer, covers the New Mexico Lobos football team, Steve Veidhen.
That's right. Espanol.
Yeah.
Espanol.
You know what? And it's funny because, Steve, you're from California, and, my name is Nunez, right? It's not Nunzi, Nuns, and I've been called everything there is in the book. But I'm real proud of my last name. So Veidhen, Virgin, you call yourself, but it is Veidhen.
Yeah, it's a good icebreaker.
Yeah, my mother was still alive. My mom, would always say that, the correct pronunciations of the Hispanic names, because as a Nunez, you can imagine all the things that I've been called, right?
Oh, yeah.
And with the Enya, I'm proud of my last name, very proud of it. So, Steve Veidhen, the Spanish version of it, but we'll go with Virgin. So, again, great to have you on with us, Steve. But,
yeah, thanks.
But, I think going back, we mentioned the excitement, the initial excitement. We'll go back to your background here in a second. But when you mentioned Coach Davey, the initial excitement, and I'm going to say this too, to be fair, Darrell Chestnut used to play for the Lobos, the former running back. He played a couple years ago for Coach Davey, and I had him on in October on the Sports Desk, and he mentioned this to me, that Coach Davey was a mentor to him. Coach Davey, he had a lot of respect for Coach Davey. So I think there was people that he did connect with. I think the issue was the community connection, because everyone, and again, he can live wherever he wants to.
That's very true.
Right, he lived in Scottsdale during the during the season, during the off season, and there was things that people said that they really didn't feel like he connected with Albuquerque or in the city. And so I think that's why when people mention Danny Gonzalez, again, that's one candidate. Nobody's saying he's got the job. Please, we're not saying that, right? But when those names start coming up, and again, Danny played for Rocky. He's the defensive coordinator at Arizona State under Herman Edwards, who you can only imagine what he's learned under Herman Edwards and Rocky Long, right?
For sure.
Rocky Long with a 3-3-5 defense here. Got the most out of it, the athletes that I ever saw any Lobo coach do. Plus, he's from here, right? He played here.
He was a walk-on, huh? He was a walk-on at
UNM? I don't know. I thought he got a scholarship. I'm not sure. I just remember he was number 18. They had the old NM with a NM circle with the helmets. He ran the wishbone, and he's one of the best wishbone quarterbacks in the nation in 1970. Played for the CFL cornerback, Hamilton Tiger Cats, I believe. Also a heck of a basketball player. Back in the day, I would play in small man tournaments. I was much younger, and they said he was a heck of a rebounder. He's strong, man. He used to lift weights with his players. He connected with them, right? He connected with them on a whole different level. We're not advocating coaches having to go work out with them, right? But Coach Long did. He connected with them on a whole different level. I remember against the Aggies, they had 44,000 at university. 44,000. I never forgot it. I had to park way the heck down there.
That's a packed house.
Yes. Sure. Yeah. And so there was people that came. I had Ian Clark, the former Lobo defensive back, on as a guest. We remembered when there's people there. So, people are looking for reasons. Bob Brown, the former ESPN host of The Locker Room, good friend, good guy, knows stuff, right? He says, look, if you're a football school, you're there at 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock, doesn't matter. You're there. Doesn't matter when the kickoff is,
That's
right?
true.
That was another thing that was said, that the Lobos kickoffs at 6 and 8 were hurting attendance. But I thought Bob made a good point there. But I got to say this, and I want to know your opinion. I think apathy sets in, and when the soccer program was cut, the easy target to me was Lobo football.
Oh yeah, it was a very easy target, because it's kind of looked at as, a program that kind of just sucks the money out of everything, basically. So you were right. It was an easy target when men's soccer went away. And you know, from what I've seen these past 2 seasons, it's just not a football school basically right now. But you know, it's amazing. It can be amazing what a difference he can make. You know, the right hire. That's why this hire is extremely important for Eddie Nunez to make. He just has to hit a home run basically with this one, or it could go all wrong.
You know, it's funny. That's all we're asking to do, right? Get it right. Make sure it's somebody the community can connect with. What's the reason why people? You know, Rudy Chavez, the Lobo fan, right? The local attorney.
Right.
Rudy's, you know, go out. You got to give me a reason to come out, man. I get what he's saying. I'm alumni too, man. I'm a Lobo, and I understand what he's saying. But you have to give me a reason for people to go out. You can't just say, you know, buy it if the product isn't good. And this is as you mentioned, a very important hire because because how do we get people back to University? Well, Dreamstyle, it'd always be University Stadium to me, but Dreamstyle Stadium, Larry Chavez puts enough money in there that he owns those rights. I do respect that. But what do we do to get people back there? And I think, as you mentioned, this hire is so important because there's the recruiting. It's tough to recruit. Let's be honest, it's tough to see those facilities, and they've improved, right? You know, it was mentioned about 2 months ago that Senator Antonio Maestas had talked about putting more money in the program, but there's not going to be it's a hard sell because they're not winning, right? But when you bring recruits in, it's like they see that and then they see another facility. Colorado State has a new stadium, right?
Very beautiful.
Right. I mean, I don't know that I'll live to see that, a new stadium or new improved facilities, but there's got to be a point on the field, especially in the next couple of years, it's going to be rebuilding, right? It's going to be, they're going to have to get their guys in, whoever comes in and coaches. There's no quick fix, Steve.
For sure, there's going to have to be some patience there. But yeah, you're right. You know, facilities plays a key part. You know, it starts with the coach, obviously. The coach is going to make a big difference. But, you know, it's interesting that a lot of people bring up Rocky Lawn because those are kind of the glory days. But you remember from what I hear, because I wasn't here at that time, but what people liked about that program was kids or players that did not quit, that went after it and hit players, you know. Everybody loves to see that type of football. That football is never going to go away, basically, so to speak. That's a brand that's always going to be able to sell. If you got kids that really want to win, that this is their life basically, and they're hungry to win and play football, you know, it's easy to get behind that and root for. And that's what we say. It starts with the coach. If the coach can instill that type of mentality, instill that type of atmosphere, it's gonna carry on, you know, throughout the community, and the community is going to want to come and see that. In my opinion, you know. No, you know, Steve, your opinion is very, you know, I take it very seriously. You're there every day, man. You interview the players, you got the pulse, man. So we take that very seriously. But I got to say this too, that God, the football part, right? I mean, I've watched the NFL and the UNM football since '70. I've been a Cowboy fan since '70. That long. Rarely do I miss a Sunday. You know, my wife knows I'm not going to look in on every single game, but the Cowboys, yeah, I got to see that, right? You could have missed Thanksgiving.
Oh man, I was so mad, and I had to, you know, we were hosting people, so I don't kick the dog or nothing like that, but I was mad. I was mad, but you know, then I had to understand, as I understood years ago, that it's a football game. How does it affect I still got to go to work, still got bills to pay, right?
Good idea.
It's a football game, man. You know, and people give me a hard time. What happened to your Cowboys? Hey, man, it's a game, right? That's what they play the game.
It's fine.
But I got to say this too, though, just the level of hitting, and I don't know, you know, the American football, man, it's you know, we're seeing a shrinkage of numbers. So, and I hope that, you know, again, the game never goes away. Back, I think it was invented 1908, 1909, and Theodore Roosevelt, President Roosevelt then, almost outlawed it then because of the deaths then, right? Then they started getting better equipment and helmets.
Game. Physical game.
I love to watch, and I was going to play. I wanted to play it hot, and this one guy, I remember we were playing park football, hit me right at my knees. I'm like, I'm a basketball player, baby. I'm not playing. Oh, man.
Stay on the court.
He hit me so dang hard. I was like, yeah, I don't. And then we got Alden Iowati, the former Cibola safety, man. That guy knows his way around some hits. Yeah. So, yeah, Josh Brown played football. Our other producer played for Del Norte as a center. So, yeah, those guys know their way on the field. It's one thing to sit there and, go put the helmet on and then get hit and see then.
Right.
Yeah, so you're right. It's a very violent game. But I think one of the things that I'll say about Coach Long, he was able to use a lot of New Mexico guys, right? Ian Clark, Josh Bazinet, Zach Arnett, Nick Spiegel, guys that were from here and connected. You know, and we've had a few guys that Coach Davey used. I know he tried to use some, Marcus Williams, the tight end from Cleveland. There's some people that he did recruit here. But I think that's, you know, if Danny Gonzalez indeed becomes a coach, and there's other candidates, he's not the only one. We're not saying he's the head coach. But I think it's a throwback to a flavor of when times were good, right? People are always looking for when was the best times of Lobo football here. And for a lot of people, is when Rocky Long was here.
Yeah, from what I hear too, it's a very exciting time. You know, there's something to be said about that too. It's just like, I know we keep on stressing that Danny's not the guy, but you know, there's a lot of what he's gone through makes sense for him to come here. I mean, I would think he still calls this place home. You know, it's like that goes a long way. But you know, to play devil's advocate, I was kind of surprised when I first heard his name, because I thought Danny's such a hot coaching prospect, and to take a job like UNM might be a risk for him. You know, if he's a coach that's kind of climbing the ladder, wants a head job, obviously he wants that, and to rebuild a program, that's a very, very challenging thing to do, and you got to be patient. You obviously got to build and kind of just work overtime to make that happen. So to be honest, when I first heard his name, I was surprised actually. But you know, loyalty goes a long way. It does, and I think there's something to be said about that, and it's going to be something that I expect both sides to explore, and we'll see what happens next. You know, that's the part that's very exciting, because he is not the only name. You know, there are other names, there are other people, there are other prospects.
Terrence Mathis, one of them. Terrence Mathis,
yeah,
the
from what I hear, he's very interested in the job. He wants to come back. And
heard he's been calling the offices quite a bit. Yeah.
You know, we'll see. You know, and you can't just shut that door, because he would be able to attract a lot of people for sure. Because I mean, he's that type of person.
Well, you should have seen when he played here. I was still a student at UNM, and he was a heck of a basketball player. God, you should have seen how good he was. He actually sat on the Lobo bench he never got in, but he was a member of the basketball team for a while. Incredible football player, incredible. Then he went to the NFL, and they talked about he didn't have the clock watch, stopwatch speed. He had football speed, man. 771 receptions, a couple all-pro seasons with the Falcons.
Very technical wide receiver for sure.
I remember against Hawaii one time, I never forgot. He went over the middle. God, they hit him so hard, the helmet went flying down. He still caught it though. That guy was as tough as it came. He really was, and I would see why he would want to come back. So, to restore UNM to places maybe we've never seen. But Rocky Long had it at a place where we never saw it. Right? Dennis Franchione had some good success, but the problem is, even Joe Morrison in that 10-1 season. I remember that season like it was yesterday. They didn't go to a bowl, Steve. You don't think about it. These days there's a million bowls, right? They didn't go to one bowl at 10-1. They lost to BYU here on ABC TV. Steve Young and the Cougars took it to them. Wow. And they didn't go to a bowl. They didn't go to a bowl at 10-1. These days they'd go to, several. They'd have invitations. Joe Morrison left after that year. Crazy. Joe Lee Dunn comes in. Joe Lee Dunn has some mixed bag of success. So it's been hard. It's been hard to establish Mike Shepard he has the offensive machine. Jeremy Leach threw for 500 yards against Florida one time. We lost by 3. That's when Emmitt Smith ran for 300 yards against us.
Amazing.
Yes. So
some good times.
No, I remember listening to those games, and I'm like, oh gosh, we're going to find a way to. I knew we'd find a way to lose, and but we were competitive with Florida.
Right.
And I remember Jeremy Leach had an amazing game. Terrence had an amazing game. Terrence Mathis. So I've had some great memories, even though when Franchione was here. Winslow Oliver, Stoney Case went to the NFL. Carl Winston, Gavin Perlman. There's just been some really good players here. Robin Coles, right? The Mike Williams, the Don Perkins, the Brian Urlachers. It's not like we've been devoid of talent. Robin Cole. It's not like it's been devoid of talent here. And I think people want to see the program succeed.
For sure, and sustain that success, not just 1 or 2 years. I'm sure any fan would want success to be sustained. I think the thing that I forgot to mention that's going to be very challenging is the money. After this show, I'm going to go talk to Eddie Nunez about those issues. Basically, the buyout issue is a huge issue for UNM, because here they are, they're going to be paying these contracts to Bob Davie and the assistant coaches. And what's that going to say about who they bring in? The amount of money. Danny Gonzalez is making over $500,000 at ASU. It's going to be tough for any coach to come to UNM in that matter, and it's going to be a situation where they might, they're going to have to find a different breed of coach so to speak, because of the money. That's what's expected anyway. So we're going to have to see about that too.
There's a lot of questions here. We'll be back to the sports desk after these messages.
Folks, there's no other way but to be all in. Either he's Lord of all or he is not Lord at all. And you can experience the real and authentic, true life change that only God can provide to humanity. See, when we truly encounter Jesus and purpose to know him and follow his teachings, hashtag life change will occur.
The world-famous Laguna Burger is beautifully handcrafted. A burger that's created from certified Angus beef, sinfully cooked to juicy perfection, and garnished with New Mexico's Hatch green chili. Tempt your taste buds with mouth-watering fresh ingredients.
Cut! We're gonna need another Laguna Burger. Try the irresistible, world-famous Laguna Burger. Visit thelagunaburger.com. It's fresh with a kick. Take 32.
Dreamstyle Remodeling has been wowing homeowners in New Mexico since 1989. Selected as Best Custom Home Remodeler for 3 consecutive years by readers of the Albuquerque Journal, we're also your exclusive provider for top home improvement brands like Renewal by Anderson, Four Seasons, Blaze King, and many others. Founded and headquartered in Albuquerque, Dreamstyle Remodeling is family-owned and now employs more than 500 people across the southwestern U.S. In fact, we've helped more than 60,000 homeowners improve their home in New Mexico, Arizona, California, Idaho, and West Texas. We're committed to providing a superior customer experience. We've earned 4.6 stars with hundreds of online reviews and have an A+ with the BBB. Dreamstyle Remodeling is a proud supporter of UNM Athletics. Visit our beautiful 10,000 square foot showroom at 1460 Renaissance Boulevard across from Sam's Club or DreamstyleRemodeling.com to make your home remodeling dreams come true.
The Sports Desk is proudly presented by Car Crafters. It's like it never happened.
Car Crafters, proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Are you sure we're supposed to be doing this? Don't worry, I've watched him do it 1,000 times. Come on, what's the worst that can happen?
No! Bad dog! Hi, welcome to Car Crafters. What happened? Don't worry, we'll make it like it never happened.
Car Crafters, it's like it never happened.
Welcome back to the Sports Desk, live on Comcast Channel 26, also streamed on Facebook. I'm your host, Ed Nunez, along with Albuquerque Journal beat writer, covers the UNM football team, Steve Virgin. Steve, again, great to have you with us.
Thanks.
We covered a lot of ground here, and I keep thinking about the next person, the next guy, and who they're going to interview, and I'm sure hopefully we'll have a decision maybe after the New Mexico Bowl, and I'm just speculating. That doesn't mean they're going to have a decision. I think people, there are followers of the program. There's going to be people saying, the support is kind of eroded, whatever support they had over the, to what, 1,500 in the stands on Saturday, maybe.
Yeah.
So that killed me too. That did. I hate to see that. But I think people are anxious, the supporters of the program, and there are supporters. We need to remember that.
Mm-hmm.
They are anxious to see, hey, man, what's next?
For sure. You can tell these people care about it, otherwise they wouldn't be complaining.
Right. And, you see that in sports speak up all the time. But I think one of the things, Najee Flowers, the UNM defensive tackle, committed suicide a couple weeks ago, and that cast a huge pall over the program, no question, because anytime a young person decides to do that, it's heartbreaking, heart-wrenching for the family, his teammates, for Coach Davey. That's got to be, it's heart-wrenching because you don't know why. He'd been depressed about some issues, but I think I want to talk about. As you just told me about writing that article, it might have been the hardest thing you've had to do, and you've covered sports for 20 years. But talk about some of the advice you got for some doctors, because I think people need to hear what you just told me.
Yeah, it's overall it's a very sad story, but yeah, I had a doctor reach out to me, he started at UNM, I forget his name now, Steven Edelsheim, I believe his name is. Very nice man. He wanted to tell me that there are some guidelines to follow when you write about an issue like this, like suicide, because the worst thing that can happen is to write something that might cause an epidemic, which is studies have been done, have shown that that's happened in the past. So when I heard something like that, it scared me a bit, that, just another reminder of the responsibility we have as journalists. But again, it's a very sensitive subject, but at the same time, it allowed people to talk about it as well. It allowed UNM to seek other options as far as student mental health services for student athletes. And overall, overall it was something that I've never experienced, and it was just a very sad story. Very, very difficult for the team, very difficult for all his teammates, and it's just a situation where these players want to play football, they want to win games, and it goes beyond that. It really does, and that was just a reminder of it.
And a stark one at that. I'll tell you,
For sure.
it's the
It's a
worst
very sad
reminder,
story.
right? It's the worst kind of reminder that you can get. I kind of wanted to know too. You've been there, you covered the team, you've done the interviews. What was the mood like in the locker room? I mean, was it a give up the season kind of mood, or angry mood, or we can't wait till the season's over mood? What did you get from that?
Well, there were so many moods throughout the season, but yeah, definitely after that, it was very very serious tone, very emotional. A lot of people didn't want to talk about it, and I understood that. I respected that. There's a lot of players close to him, and they just chose not to speak, and you've got to respect that as well. Throughout the season, it was just like a roller coaster for them. It was just like one thing after the next, and there's very few highs, but mainly lows, and it was just a very difficult season for them. There's different personalities on the team, and I got to see that, and for the most part, they were very very positive. I never had one issue with these players at all, and I respect UNM, the university, for that, because they do kind of instill that mentality with these kids, and they're very respectful, and I've gotten along with all of them. And you get to a point where it's just like you do have some sympathy for them, that they try so hard. But overall, it was a very positive mood despite what was going on throughout the season. But yeah, towards the end of the season, it was kind of a situation where, like, yeah, let's just this season has to end pretty soon. Let's not so much, but yeah, kind of thinking let's get it over with the season.
Right, and I guess when those kind of things happen, it's no wonder. But they went down to 57 scholarship players to 43, or in those numbers there. And it was weird to me. This is another situation that I kept a close eye on, that wide receiver Jake Griffin, missed several games due to personal. I've never seen that, due to personal reasons.
Yeah,
and I've never seen that.
Yeah, and as a reporter, you want to find out what's going on, but you also want to respect what's going on. Yeah, with him, but it was obvious. It was very personal because he didn't talk about it. But
he didn't practice either, then, right?
He wasn't at practice as well. And my first thought was that maybe he's just concentrating on track, because he's a very gifted track athlete, very, very, very fast.
One of the best in indoor track, right?
Yeah,
one of the fastest, I should say.
Mountain West champion in the 200 meter, I believe, and I think he's the type of athlete that I thought would probably just concentrate on track. That was my first thought, but I don't think that's it. But yeah, very personal issue for him, and as I understand, he's going to compete in track for all I know. But who knows? I guess we'll see from here.
Because he missed the last 5 games.
Right.
So I think that kind of surprised me when I saw that. And and we thought before the season they had some speed at receivers. There's no question. They had, and I think the offensive philosophy, when they ran the triple option, they got the chunk plays from Jarrell Presley and Terrion Gibson. Terrion Gibson averaged 9.3 a carry. I know that was probably before you were here, but
right.
that offense led the league, a nation in rushing.
There's a strong case to be made that the triple option can work at a place like UNM. I mean, that's a very strong case that you can make, and you've seen it happen. When you open up an offense and you go spread, or you try to make it very innovative, you're going a very challenging path. The Boise States, Hawaii, these type of teams that open up their offense, you got to get the right talent. You got to get the right players in there to buy in and to execute. And we saw that it didn't happen this season.
No, that's a very good point. And they went away. They went to some spread and triple option last year. They tried that, And this year they kind of abandoned the triple option. Right. And I saw that last year that they couldn't get the edge as much as they were in the past. The dive play was getting shut down. The dive, they used to get 2 or 3, 4 yards on that. Then it was getting 1. You know, they were behind the chains. And so that offense last year, you could tell, wasn't working.
Right.
And the spread, when they started going to the quarterback, and you had the issues with the and you mentioned that in one of your articles, the continuity at quarterback is very important. And we didn't get the continuity. Hughes got hurt. Sherion Jones suspended. Tavaka Tuioti inconsistent. He's got some big games. I remember the game that they beat the Aggies, right? They beat. I was coming back from Silver City,
but it was a huge game. Yeah.
He made some throws that were on the dime, right? On the dime. On the dime. So you're like, man, my son, of course, the eternal optimist. Dad, you know, son, calm down. But
yeah,
you know,
I was right with him, actually, to be honest. I thought Tavaka was on that path to be one of the best quarterbacks in the conference.
You really thought
after that game? Yes, after that game, I saw the potential there. But it just goes to show, you know, that anything could happen in the season. Really, anything could happen. Any twist, any turn can really happen. And what we also saw is how important recruiting is. You know, that's what I saw anyway. That recruiting is going to be very, very important for the next coach. You know, you really got to tap into the Southwest, to Texas for sure.
You know, I see that even with I cover Western New Mexico, and Western is in the Lone Star Conference. And I'll tell you what, some of those Texas teams. Tarleton was ranked number 2 and 3 in small, college football. Western gave them everything they could handle, but it came down to the end, and the bigger, stronger Tarleton is loaded.
Yeah.
So some of those, even those Lone Star Conference teams, at a D2, they're loaded, man.
For sure.
They're loaded. So when you're competing against Texas for recruits, and it's tough.
It's very tough.
It's very hard because they're going to get the 5-star, the 4-star. We might get the 3.5, the 2-star, the 2.5.
Junior college players.
Right. And it didn't work out this year for the Lobos. And Tavaka Tuioti, I still think can be a fine quarterback. But if you got Trey Hall coming back and then Brand Hughes again with the new coach, who knows what the new coach system will be? We have no idea. Yeah. So there's so many uncertainties. I'm guaranteeing you this, and I'm guaranteeing this because I've watched the game for a long time. Somebody's transferring. Somebody's going to transfer because a new coach is going to come in. And the coach.
You mean transfer out?
Right.
Yeah,
either Hall, Hughes, or Tuioti are going to transfer.
Yeah.
Because the new coach may, and I'm just speculating, but it happens, right? New coach comes in. This is my system. This is my guide from whatever college. He's coming with me.
You're saying the quarterbacks?
Right.
Yeah.
And other positions.
Oh yeah,
too,
I
right?
expect at least a handful of players, maybe handful, maybe 3 to 5. I talked to Trey and I talked to Brant. They both said they're coming back, but I haven't talked to Tavaka. That's a question I'll have to ask him in these next couple of days.
I want to talk to you. We got one more segment left. We'll be back to the sports desk after these messages.
What is glamour? Frailty. What is desire? Diamonds. They say a life lived without passion is hardly worth living.
Ma'am? Dang, this one made me feel all special.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a #1. Cover it with green stuff, 1 scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Is this my car?
State Farm knows that for every one of those moments,
This is ridiculous!
there's one of these.
Is this my car? What? This is ridiculous.
This can't be happening!
This can't be happening.
Oh, it's happening, sweetheart.
Oh, it's happening, sweetheart. Shut up.
Shut up!
That's why State Farm is there, with car insurance for when things go wrong, but also here with car loans to help life go right. State Farm.
Talk to State Farm agent Marty Size or Michelle Rudolph in Albuquerque today.
Don't sacrifice quality of flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs,
proud supporter of ProView Sports Network. Don't sacrifice quality and flavor.
Folks, there's no other way but to be all in. Either he's Lord of all or he is not Lord at all. And you can experience the real and authentic, true life change that only God can provide to humanity. See, when we truly encounter Jesus and purpose to know him and follow his teachings, hashtag life change will occur.
One more segment on the sports desk with Albuquerque Journal's beat writer, covers the UNM Lobos, Steve Virgin. Steve, we covered a lot of ground here, and we talked about possible replacements for UNM head football coach Bob Davie. We mentioned maybe Danny Gonzalez, whose name seems to be real hot right now. Terrence Mathis has been mentioned, and that's right now. And again, the UNM athletic director Eddie Nunez probably has his own list of people that he has in mind as well. The hot commodity seems to be Danny Gonzalez again because of a connection with Rocky Long. He's from here. He's from graduated at Valley. He's a 43-year-old young man. But the thing is, I think the rebuilding project, when Coach Davie came in here and he had to rebuild from 3-33 with Coach Loxley, it was a major rebuilding task, right? It was a major rebuilding task. But again, I don't think people give him enough credit for even going to 2 bowl games. They don't. All they concentrate on, the people that know the game understand that he did do some good things. They concentrate on the things off the field, the things that maybe he didn't connect, and the incidents up at the football camp where they said that he had said some things to some players.
Right.
People forget they only look through things through one prism. There were some other stories around the edge as well. So I don't know where the rebuilding program or the rebuilding line was then as it compared now.
Oh, I think it's just as strong, just as a challenging anyway to rebuild this time around. It's not as dramatic as a record as it was in the past, 3-33 like you said, but there's something to be said about the culture that's going to be taking some rebuilding, that needs to be rebuilt. Culture change. The thing that you said and so many people say is connecting with the community. It's so important. So important to the athletic department. So important to that football program, so important to the players. They do want to connect to the community. These aren't kids that are just happy just playing to a crowd that showed up on Saturday, so to speak. Crowd, it's only 1,200 people, but it is a situation where they do want to connect with the community, and I think that goes a long way. It really does.
I'm going to go back to the basketball program. Norm Ellenberger, you weren't here when he was here, but Norm was an incredible community guy, right? We found out later that Norm was Norm, Lobogate, the whole thing, man. But Norm to this day is still one of the most beloved coaches here in Albuquerque that basketball program ever had. Mm-hmm. Norm had the tan. Norm had the turquoise jewelry, the shirt open to the navel. Norm was storming Norman in the pit. The only coach I've ever seen have a cheer at the pit. The only coach I've ever seen. The only coach you'll probably ever see have his own cheer, right? Yeah. They loved him.
You gotta respect that.
He connected. He connected. I remember going to practice with my friends. When we go to practice, and every single time, hey guys, what's up? How you doing, man? He never what are you doing here? Steve Alford could coach, right? Not a connect guy. That guy, Craig Neal. Craig Neal caused, he really hurt himself when he said, I don't coach effort. And I read that, I'm like, are you kidding me, man? What are you here for? Mm-hmm. Any coach that says that, darn well isn't locked in. He doesn't want to be here. Right. So Coach Weir definitely connects, right? He connects. Mm-hmm. Now, you already know people around here with Lobo basketball, if you don't win, you know how it is around here. You already know. You already know the murmurs like, rah, rah, rah. I already hear them.
Yeah, you got to win.
They've got to win. Mm-hmm. No matter what good nice guy you are, you got to win.
Right.
So I think that connection. That's why I think again, we're just speculating here because that's all we can do. You got a press conference with UNM athletic director Eddie Nunez here coming up. Mm-hmm. That's all we can do is speculate. But Danny Gonzalez's name seems to be out there because people are excited about a community guy, somebody that can connect and wants to be here. And maybe make something out of, some New Mexico kids on the roster. There's some New Mexico talent here, for sure, right? Cleveland
You
just
would
won
think
the
so.
championship. They've got some talent. Rio Rancho's got some talent. There's some talent all around, not just in Albuquerque. There's some talent in New Mexico, and I think people want to see.
Yeah, I got to get after that for sure. You know, I think one thing that could be said about Bob, I think I said earlier, I really do believe he was a good coach. He is a good coach, and the thing that he actually pointed out, and you know, for what it's worth, and you know, for what we said in the past, that maybe he didn't connect to the community, but after they did win those two, I mean, after they won the second bowl game, the second bowl appearance, New Mexico bowl appearance, he said he still didn't see that many a significance rise in the attendance, and I think that was, you know, his gripe, so to speak. I think he didn't, like, in those final stories that I was writing about him, I think he was pointing that out, that there wasn't alignment with the university athletic department. I think that was his biggest gripe, and I think we saw that in this final season, that there was a disconnect between Eddie Nunez and Bob Davie. And you know, Eddie Nunez is still a person that's, so to speak, kind of new, and this is going to be his signature hire, so to speak, and this is going to be his guy. We never felt that with Bob Davie, and it kind of showed these past couple of years.
You know, I want to ask you this, because I was going to ask you that. Did you know, again, Coach Davie said there wasn't much marketing done as far as, you know, I read all your articles, Steve, every one of them, man.
Right.
I did. I have a reader, so I caught that.
Yeah, Bob became a little bit more candid in his final season, and he was kind of speaking out.
Yeah, he said that, you know, there wasn't much marketing done with the football program, and I guess from my point of view, when I'm reading that, I'm thinking, okay, why not? You know, why wouldn't you market it? So did you sense any kind of rift between Eddie Nunez and Bob Davie? I mean, I read between the lines, and I'm guessing that they weren't the, you know, I don't know if they were enemies. I don't know if they were the, you know, close colleagues either.
Well, I think it's pretty safe to say that there was tension there. There was tension. Now we could say in the past tense, there was tension there between them. You know, you think back when Eddie first got the job at UNM, one of his first duties was to put Bob on suspension. I mean, granted, Eddie didn't make that choice, but he's the one that had to kind of carry that out and say, Bob, you're on suspension, and that's, you know, first impressions go a long way, and that's the first impression. But you know, I think there were times where they got along, but these past couple of years, I think it's pretty safe to say there was tension there, and you know, it just became evident that there had to be a change made, and it got closer and closer to the end of the season, and sure enough, you know, here we are.
Yeah, so it's just so sad that it had to end like with three wins, and then two wins. You know, and I know it frustrated a lot of people. It frustrated Coach Davie. It frustrated the program. I'm sure it frustrated Eddie Nunez as well. Going forward, we got about 2 minutes left. You know, I'm not going to put you on the spot. There's a lot of candidates. You mentioned what you think they need. Do you think better times? And I'm going to ask you this too. Let's say a good coach, you know, comes in, Danny turns it around. Does he stay? So what do you see Lobo football in 4 years?
That's such a good question. That's such a good question, because a lot of people will look at this job as kind of a stepping stone, right? You know, you probably think they want to go on to the next job, but you know, that's why I think this hire is so important, because you do want a person that's going to be invested. You don't want somebody that's going to just be here for a couple of years. You know, Utah State kind of saw that a couple of years ago too. And it's very hard to make that happen at a place like UNM, at a place like Utah State, Wyoming, all these Mountain West schools. But I think if you just get some continuity going as far as coach, staff, you're going to be in a good spot. And I think it can happen here. I really do. I really do believe that it can happen here.
You know, that's so good. You know, I can tell my son, calm down. It could happen here, because you know, we want to see that, and you know, and all the other Lobo fans besides that, because there are, you know, I'm glad you said that, because I think it can too, and I think we're looking forward to whoever the next coach is. I know I am. I'm going to be reading I read all your columns all the time.
I'll keep writing.
Oh yeah, yeah. I know you will. Steve Virgin, Albuquerque beat writer for the.
Thanks, Ed.
Thanks for covers the UNM Lobos. Thanks so much for being our guest, man. I really appreciate it.
Thanks.
We'll have to get you back on. For producer Alden Iwani, I'm Ed Nunez. We'll see you next week on the Sports Desk.
Folks, there's no other way but to be all in.